All right, everyone, welcome back to video 2 in this 3-video series masterclass on building your digital plane. Again, this is for coaches and consultants between $2,000 and $20,000 a month. And if you haven't already watched the first video on finding your engine, I would suggest you go back and watch that first, because in configuring your plane, it is a requirement that you already have found your initial engine that's going to help you gain thrust and take off from the runway. But assuming that you already have found your engine, we're going to be talking about plane configuration. And plane configuration really comes down to one core aspect, which is servicing your passengers in the correct way. And that comes down to your seat configuration, because you want your digital plane to be serving your passengers, your clientele, serving you and your personal and professional needs in your life, and most importantly, getting you closer to your desired destination while maintaining a stable and non-chaotic flight. Just like in an Emirates A380 or any other commercial plane, there are 3 core different classes. We have economy, we have business, and we have first class. In a similar manner, you need to structure your digital plane, your service and offer structure, with 3 different tiers and levels of service. Because imagine if someone sitting in economy class got treated the same way as someone sitting in first class, and vice versa. It would cause confusion, it would cause inappropriate expenditure of resources and time and effort. For us in our business, this comes down to our 3 very clear levels of service, which is flight manuals, which teaches you how to operate and design your plane yourself. Co-piloting, which is the resources and materials and protocols designed for you to do great takeoff and gain elevation, but with one-on-one support and a tailored flight plan. And then finally, autopilot is our first class offer, which is full-on implementation, including the max altitude masterclass and a few other different components. In a similar way, in an info business, it's very important that you look at your different levels of service and you match them to the effort and the time that you put in to those different levels of service. So for example, in an info business, the economy level tier could be simply the information that your customers and passengers can take with them by themselves and actually implement on themselves. And your business class would be more of a done with you. So in the same way that we do co-piloting, it's more of a structured, maybe a 6 or a 12-week program with certain information and accountability processes. And your first class service being full-on implementation, 24/7, accountability and support for that top 5% of clientele in your digital plane. Having the right levels of service configured appropriately towards where you're actually trying to get to will allow you to operate a far more stable flight and allow you to have far more enjoyment and fulfillment in the work you're doing on a daily basis. Because imagine if everyone that wanted to fly was forced to fly first class and you only had one offer structure, how many people in the market would you actually be missing out on because you didn't provide 2 different levels of service for people to engage with? People that only can afford economy should still have the right to work with you or fly or become a passenger in the digital plane, just like people with first class capacity should be able to have the perfect experience for them, right? So you can tailor your specific offerings to the individual. It's just important that you have a very clear 3-tier structure for how you operate and service people in your info product business. Consulting, coaching, this is the same for B2B, for B2C. And it's one of the most crucial steps in designing an aircraft that doesn't just serve your passengers, but also serves you. So that is it in essence. Configure your plane to service people at different levels, different needs of engagement. And make sure that this is actually ticked off before you move on to designing your flight plan and moving into how you're going to be operating your plane from the cockpit, which we're going to be talking about in the 3rd video. And the 3rd video really combines the 2 things you've found and configured initially and brings it into actually flying the plane and navigating the skies, operating, learning your flight deck, and overall actually driving your business towards new heights while making sure that these 2 initial steps are fulfilled and completed. So with that being said, if you have any questions towards this, reach out to me We have a form on our website. You can reach out to me directly on Instagram with the link in the description below. If not, I'll see you in the third video, and I wish you an amazing journey until then.